All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I turned the heater on, but sorry. Okay, I wanted to just go over a couple things first, and then we're going to do a role play. Something we haven't done since I've been here, but we kind of talked about it a little bit. So, parts returned. So, what I want to talk about this is a couple of parts of this. If you guys go, let's say for an example, Kevin sells a job, or somebody else sells a job other than yourself, but you're working on the job. So either as a helper, or Kevin just says, hey, I'm going to let you guys split the volume, whatever the case is, right? Or he says, I'm going to pay you hourly on the job. Basically, what I want to happen is, I want to make sure what happens is, if you go get parts, let's say there's a part list, you go get parts, you pick them up, but you don't use everything. So I want to make sure I make this part clear. If the parts if it's not your service volume, and then you have to return parts, or you decide to keep the parts and use them for the next job, if it's in your service volume, that's okay. But if you're doing it as an hourly position and working for somebody else, those parts belong to either them, or they get returned and go back to the job. So you don't get to hold on to those parts and then next job get to use them for free and let somebody else pay for them, is what I'm saying, or let the company pay for them. So you need to make sure whatever parts you don't use, in that case, if it's not your job, you're just working as an hourly or a spiffed type of deal, so you're going to make this much money on the job, those extra parts get returned or are given to the person whose job it is, and let them decide, hey, do you want to return these? If not, they're yours because you paid for them on your job. Does that make sense? Because I don't want you going out and saying, okay, well, I'm working on Kevin's job and I bought some extra parts, angle stop supplies, whatever it may be, HVAC stuff, and then you just put it in your truck and say, well, next time on my job, I don't have to spend money. Okay, so that's not right. It's not fair to them or us. So please make sure that you return those parts to either the person or we get a credit onto that job. Okay, and all it is a negative PO. So if you're returning something, and it's like, as I said on Wednesday, invoices come with your paperwork each week. I want them just paper clipped to the job so I know, including returns, so that I can make sure your return is in there, because that affects your pay. So you want to get paid on that, and not, so if you have a return, give me the negative PO. I'll look, make sure it's credited in your job. Sarah's not here, but I wanted to we did a shout out for her for working the other day. I'm going to say, was it Wednesday night or yesterday morning till 2 a.m. Got an on-call. I mean, that's what on-call's about. So, had a leak. Someone had a leak, called us out, wanted to right away emergency. Sarah went out there, took care of it, and then, of course, got done what she could at that point, get the emergency out of the way, and then she went and went back out yesterday to do the rest of the work. So, that's what on-call's about, and that's how we get these calls that are good calls. Because when someone calls us in the middle of the night, they're in a panic normally, right? They want something done, or they need something done right now. So I just wanted to reiterate thanking her for that and kind of let you guys know. I mean, it does help. That's how we make, those reroutes and those repipes and those type of jobs like that a lot easier to sell it when you're out there spending the time with them in the middle of the night, building that relationship, and you're willing to come out and take care of them. Okay. If you haven't signed the handbook acknowledgement, please get one from me today and sign it. Everyone should have been sent one. The only one that I'm not sure if you got one, Oscar. If you got your sent, you did? Okay. So that's the only thing for that. And then I still have 5 people that either have checks to give me for the HIS license or still haven't turned in part of their paperwork. Phil's not here, but if he's watching this, he'll see it. Mike knows about his. Ryan knows about his. And then John, I need yours, and Oscar, I need yours. The application for that. Okay? Everybody else, I think we're all good because James is leaving, so we don't have to worry about that, right? All right. and I'm going to still talk about Yelp because I'm going to talk about it every day until I start getting reviews. I'm going to bug you guys until we get them. We're not getting Yelp reviews. I looked at it again, nothing new. Okay, so we've got, just in this room alone, 10 people. And don't assume that someone says, oh, I'll give you a Yelp review, that they're going to do it. I mean, make sure you go above and beyond. Make sure you ask them. Help them out if you need to, guys. You have your iPads. Get on there and do it for them. Not do it for them, but help them if they don't know how to do it. That's how you get them. Okay, so asking is not always enough because people get busy. It's like that's the last thing we want to do unless your service was so exceptional that they're willing to do whatever. Then that's a different story. But it's not an easy task. Even if you guys, like I said, if we get 1 or 2 a week from each of you guys, it'll make a difference. It'll make a huge difference. So please, take care of your customers. Make them want to give it to you, but help them. Ask them and help them. You have to ask. You don't get it if you don't ask a lot of times. They're not going to just go do it. Okay? All right, so what I wanted to do today was a little role play. We have a lot of you guys here today, which is good. So I'm going to do a quick role play. I'm going to do one with plumbing, but the concept is the same with plumbing or HVAC. HVAC is the only difference in HVAC is it's a little more complicated sometimes with the channel leader and the communication to the tech. Okay, so I'm going to start off just explaining it, and then I want to do one of them. Okay, so just so we know how, I'm going to do a plumbing one, because like a drain call, which is a pretty simple, usually a pretty simple one to do. So typically, the channel leader is the one who has the camera. Okay, you don't want the technician to have the camera on a sewer problem, and there's a reason for that. Okay. So the first thing that happens is the technician's going to knock on the door of the customer. The customer is going to tell them what the issue is. Now, we should already basically know what it is. So, for an example, I knock on the door, customer walks the door, and I say hi, and I do my whole thing with the booties and everything before I get in the door. You guys all kind of hopefully understand that, but we'll role play it. I'm going to know, based on what's on Service Titan, what the issue should be if it's a clogged toilet, for an example. Okay. Now, as I get into the door, get my booties on, and do all of that, the next step is for me to start asking questions of the customer. They're going to help me with assessing the job, right? So, how long you lived here? That's going to help. How many bathrooms do you have? As you walk into the particular toilet that's clogged. Okay. So how many times have you had this issue before? All of those questions that you're going to ask as you're getting to the customer. Now, doing this in front of your peers is probably harder than doing it in front of a customer. And I'm telling you that because it is. You get more comfortable when you're with a customer. You don't know them. You're not being judged on how you're doing it, right? So it's a little more difficult. But if you can do it here, it makes it that much easier in front of a customer. Okay? So once we start asking the questions, how long have you owned your home? I mean, you're basically asking questions to get answers. Like sometimes you find out as a tenant, right? So do you own your home? You maybe ask the question, how long have you owned it? How many times has this happened before? All those questions as you're getting to the problem. So then your job is, before anything else, is we want to basically stake our claim and get whatever part of the job we can and keep the customer involved if we can. Keeping the customer involved does not mean, okay, I'm going to go over and I got to take care of some stuff with whatever. You just go ahead and do what you got to do, right? That's not keeping the customer involved. So how do you keep a customer involved? I'm going to ask you first before we even get into the role play, so no one's too embarrassed. How do you keep the customer involved if you have a clogged toilet? Anybody? Except for Kevin. I know Kevin probably knows the answer already, but how do you keep the customer involved? Come on, guys.
I keep asking them questions.
Okay. Okay. Pretty soon you're gonna run out of questions. What else? How do you keep them involved?
Build a relationship.
Around his toilet? Build a relationship.
No, just show
Nobody has an
what they
answer?
do.
Okay.
How many people in the family?
So I'll give you the answer. So if I'm keeping it involved means I'm going to let them know. Okay, so how many other, I'm going to ask the questions about how many other bathrooms you have. There's other questions that have to be done, that's of course. But now I'm going to keep them involved by, when I'm doing this, I may need you to run some water over here, I may need you to go flush the toilet over here, I may need you to do this and that. Is that okay? You're asking them that question now, keeping them involved. Now they know the expectation is set. I'm going to need your help on this. Because I want to make sure, and one of the ways that you can explain if someone who doesn't understand plumbing is, just so you know, Mrs. Jones, your sewer line has a main trunk, basically like a tree, that goes out to the sewer to the city. But there's a lot of branches that tie in at different places in your house. And I don't have a way of determining how they set that up, because every plumber can do it different in every house. Your neighbor next door could have been ran differently. It depends on a lot of different things. So I may need you to run water over here in the kitchen and the laundry room, whatever, while I'm doing this to make sure nothing else is actually backing up. Just depends on how it was laid out. Does that make sense? Anybody who knows plumbing knows that that's true, right? So a customer may not know that, but we're telling them that, and we're keeping them involved by letting them know we need their help running water. Now, what that's going to do is, it's going to tell the customer's probably going to say, wow, I've had plumbers out here before. No one else has ever asked me to do that. So it's going to make it look like you know more than they do already. Because you're explaining things to them that no one else has probably explained to them. So that's part of it. That's part of the whole setup, okay? So, now you start with the toilet. Maybe you're augering the toilet, whatever the case is, right? You auger the toilet, it goes down, you're checking it, now you ask questions. So, can you take me around the house? Now that I got this going down, it's it still seems like something. Sometimes that the toilet, when you flush it, it'll kind of do the bubbling thing or whatever. There's a lot of different things that can happen once you flush the toilet or clear it. But now it kind of also gives you an opportunity, since they're helping you and running water here and running water there, flush your toilet again, and you have to flush it 4, 5, 6 times. I take a little bit of roll of toilet paper and put some toilet paper in there, make sure it's not going to clog again, right? Using their toilet paper, but still, that's part of the process. Is we need to make sure it's not going to clog again as soon as we walk out the door.
I even tell them that we hate to waste water, but we have to do this.
Yeah, so the last thing I want to have happen is it back up on you again when I walk away. I want to make sure it's completely clear, right? So now, if something isn't working properly, or it's not flushing just the way it should flush, that doesn't mean that you're done. Let me go check this, let me go check this, let's go check the other toilet, let me check the sinks, make sure the sinks are going down. And then you can ask questions about anything else. You have any other drains that are going slow, or you're draining slow, or whatever, right? So basically that's, you're staking your claim because you're in there, you've already got the job, you already got a signature, all that good stuff is done because you're arguing the toilet and doing that. I kind of missed that step a little bit. But we staked our claim, we got the customer to sign, we started the job, and we're keeping them involved, okay? So now, basically, if we're having any kind of issue, it's not just a auger toilet, no other issues, no other drains are having problems, whatever, they've never had this happen before. You have to determine when you're there, what type of pipes they have, is it ABS, you found out what year the house was built, you have any remodeling done, you can ask all kinds of questions. There's tons of things you can ask. But you should be able to, by the time you're walking around with the customer and having these things going on, you can see, do they have ABS pipes, do they have cast iron pipes, what do they have, right? If there's any issues, or if it's hard to, let's say you have to pull the toilet now because you can't just auger it. Now you're at the point where you're going to say, I need to call my channel leader, right?
Get a camera in there.
So the channel leader has the camera. There's something going on in this drain. You're going through the closet bin and everything, and you're trying to get that. And as an expert plumber, you should be able to tell first you can be able to tell what kind of drain you have when you have the toilet pulled for sure, and the condition of the pipe and the flange and everything else. But I need to get my channel leader out here to make sure I got this thing cleared all the way, because how everything ties in, this drain could be blocking this drain, or this could be blocking that drain, and I don't want something else to back up and flood in your house. So to make sure I did this, clear this line really well, the way it should have been done, I need to call my channel leader out with a camera. And that's a way to either, normally you start that as an upsell. So let's say, the toilet was $355, right? You normally want to sell that as as the camera in the sewer line, whatever that price is in our book. I would imagine it's a couple $100, $250 maybe, I'm just guessing, but that's what we would normally charge to send somebody out just to do the camera. Doesn't mean we can't waive that though. Because sometimes when you're adding something like that, they say, you know what, I really don't want to pay extra for that. Well, you know what, don't worry about it, let me call my channel leader, see if we can just get out here, see if they're close enough in the area. I mean, they'll throw the camera down there real quick and just make sure everything's fine. Okay, so there's a way of you have to kind of read your customer, and that's the whole, I don't want to call it a trick, but it is kind of a trick. It's kind of the way that you get the customer to, or as far as a technician, being able to read the customer is a really important part of this process, okay? So you get the channel leader out there at that point, but when you call them, you're going to let them know what's going on. You know, I had to pull a toilet, I couldn't auger it, they've had the house this long. You give them all the answers to the questions that are important, that are pertinent, right? They have cast iron pipes, they have it's a 40-year-old home, on and on and on. You give them all the information that you can. So when they come to the door and knock on the door, number one, customer already knows it because you told the customer that they're coming, all right? And number two, he already knows the gist of what's going on, right? So when he gets there, shakes their hand and says, I'm John, now you can introduce John to the customer, and I understand we have a sewer problem, and he had to pull your toilet, and I need to get a camera down there to make sure everything is fine. And sometimes one of the other tricks that I'll call it is, the technician, when if you get used to using a sewer mainline cable or any type of cable, you can feel when something's sticking on something, which could be a separated pipe, it could be a lip, it could be roots. I mean, you can start feeling on that cable when something's not right. It's starting to bind. I mean, there's a lot of, it takes experience, but you can tell when something's just not going straight. I mean, when it's going straight through and straight back and no issues, you can tell the difference. So that's another thing that you'll be able to tell your channel leader and the customer, is that there's something going on here. I can feel it, but obviously I can't see it. I don't have x-ray vision, but something's going on. I'm about 40 feet down, for an example. I got about 40 feet of my cable in, and something's just kind of binding on me or catching on there. And I want to make sure it's not a more serious issue, right? And that's how you get the camera out. That's a way of letting the customer know, rather than just, I'm going to have them just check to make sure everything's good, which you can do as well. If it sounds more like, hey, I'm really trying to take care of you, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, because something's going on here, and I don't want you to have a more serious issue, because we don't want to be putting raw sewage in the ground, right? We just don't. It's not safe for the environment or anything else. I mean, it needs to go to a place where it's going to be cleaned, and so that's kind of the way to get the channel leader out there. His job at that point, his or her job, is to put the camera in there and do a good inspection of the line. And especially if you have old cast iron pipes, you're going to probably find something, even if it's just needing a jetting. Okay? I mean, we can sell a jetting for $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, whatever, depending on what we're jetting and how much time it's going to take. We sell a jetter. Maybe we have a repair. Maybe we find roots, a crack, right? So there's that's just on a sewer line. I mean, every job you do, water heater, flush, whatever the case is, HVAC unit, an old unit, 30-year-old unit, it's all about explaining to the customer what the issues are, making sure the channel leader knows what the issues are, so when he comes out there, he can help get the sale above and beyond what we went out there for. Okay? We never ever start bringing up other stuff until we get done with the original issue. Because now, after we do the original issue, the goal is, and this is another way to get the channel leader out there, let's say that the toilet augured fine. Everything went fine. They got ABS pipe, it's only a 20-year-old house, there's nothing really wrong with the pipes. But as you do the inspection, you start noticing angle stops starting to leak, old supply lines, the old plastic supply lines, and so on. That's an easy way to take care of garbage disposal. You see it all starting to rust, and I mean, there's all kinds of things. You should just be observant. Drain lines, P-traps. You look at all that stuff as you're going through and doing your inspection. And then those are things that you can kind of drop seeds here and there throughout the process. I was just noticing under here, your angle stops are starting to leak. Those are really old angle stops, and you know, so there's ways to do that. And then once you build a price, you get your channel leader out so they can do a bundle for everything that needs to be done. Right? So there's lots of ways of doing this. I'm just kind of trying to give you an example. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to start out with Jesse. Jesse, you're going to be the tech. Okay, I'm going to be the customer. I'm going to start being the customer. So basically, Jesse, you're going to go out the door, just like you would for a customer, knock on the door, and walk in. I want you to do the whole booty thing and everything you would do to come into the door. Okay? All right, so I'm
You
going to
have
let
booties, right?
you guys want to do that.
Imaginary booties.
Hey Ryan, do this and make sure we get him in the picture. All right, so you knock on the door, and it's a toilet clog, okay? Backed up toilet.
Okay.
All right. You guys ready for this? Oh, hi, how you doing?
Hi, I'm Jesse from Kalka Plumbing, Vegan Air.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you today. I'm here for a call about your toilet clogging up or backing up.
Yeah, I got a toilet over here. It's just can't flush, man. I'm trying to flush it, it won't flush.
Okay, so like show me, we can go take a look at it, get my booties on and...
Okay, I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, so here's the bathroom right here, and it's you can see it's clogged. I'm sorry it's messy and dirty and smelly, but I couldn't get it to go down. I tried to plunge it.
Yeah, that's no big deal. How long have you been having this problem for?
Well, I mean, it happens every once in a while, but I mean, this time normally I can plunge it and get it down. I just couldn't plunge it this time. It
So
wouldn't
you're
work.
saying this has been a reoccurring problem?
Yeah, I mean, like probably once every month or so, I guess.
Okay, have you ever had your lines like been taking a look at with camera?
No.
Had a snake through before?
No, they just normally come out and put a
Plunge it
little
out.
cable in there, and yeah.
Okay. So, let me go ahead and take a closer look at that, and I'll start assessing so we can go from there.
All right, cool. All right, go ahead and assess.
I mean, I guess at that point, then, I take a look at it and whatever. So I don't know how to act this out anymore without it.
All right, so I'm going to help him out.
Yeah.
Remember, this is his first time doing this. So, what you're going to do at this point, I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Jones, or whatever your name is, whatever the customer's name is. Is it okay if I call you Alan? Thanks. Hey, Alan. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to get my auger out of my truck. I'm probably going to need your help here because I'm going to want you to flush some other toilets. You have any other toilets upstairs, or how does it work here? Where do you have all the? Okay. Ask the questions about the bathroom, right? So, do you have any other bathrooms in here, or any other toilets? And do you mind just giving me a quick walk around? I can see where your plumbing is because I want to have you flush or run water once I put the auger in and see if anything else is having issues here. And then basically, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out to my truck. I'm going to get some tools and bring them in here.
Tarps, vacuum.
So basically, Alan, what it's going to take is, I'm going to charge, $189. I'm just throwing a price out to do the auger in the toilet, and if anything else happens, once we check it out, I'll let you know. But that's where we're going to start. Is that okay? All right, good. And I'm going to put it here, have him sign it, right? Do that type of thing, and then I'm going to go out my truck and get my stuff. Now I'm going to stake my claim. Staking my claim, put my tarps down, put all my stuff down, get all my tools in here, and we're going to go. All right, and then I'm going to say, hey, Alan. So, okay, I'm gonna auger this real quick. As soon as I do, I'd like you to flush the other toilet upstairs and just see if it bubbles or anything happens. Which that's what you're looking for, is see if it bubbles or if it doesn't go down or starts backing up. Let me know right away. Okay. And so then that's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna give him an auger my toilet, flush it. Okay, hey Alan, can you flush that other toilet, please? Did it bubble, anything, or did it just go down real nice? Okay, so it just depends on where the toilet is. Is it upstairs? Is it over here? You guys are going to have to kind of help the customer a little bit. But that's kind of where I'm going to start. Okay, then let's say it's his toilet's bubbling. Prime opportunity right there. So how about cleanouts? Do you have cleanouts in the house? Let's look for cleanouts, right? And say, because the reason I'm asking about cleanouts is because if the toilet's doing this or this, it's not flushing the way it should. I'm putting toilet paper down there, and I don't want this to back up on you again. So I'm going to call my channel leader, if that's okay. He has a camera. We can throw one down this clean out over here and just make sure that there's nothing blocking that. Because a lot of times what will happen is roots get in lines. There's all kinds of things that happen. And then toilet paper kind of catches on there, and then that's why you're getting your backup. And I don't want you to end up flooding out and having all this crap all over your floors, okay? I mean, it's not healthy. I really want to take care of you. Does that make sense? Okay, so now Now that I've done that, channel leader's on the way out, I'm just gonna start cleaning up my mess and do what I can here. Make sure the toilet's clean, and this whole area is gonna be cleaner than when I got here, no matter what. That's my goal. Now, to have a little extra time, I'm gonna go around and check out the rest of the plumbing. So let me just take a look at your run water. You have any other things going slow? You have sinks that are draining slow. And one of the things that I do as that wow factor, anybody who shaves, we're not talking about Michael and Ryan.
What's a razor?
Okay, but anybody who shaves, shaving cream and little hairs that we get from our face and everything else will definitely start to make your P-trap get full of gunk, and really the pop-up assembly kind of gets a lot of it too, right? Plus the soaps and the oils and all the stuff from your hands. So one of the things, if I find one of those while I'm doing this, I'm going to say, okay, yeah, this drain seems to be going really slow. This must be where you shave, right? Right, Alan? Yeah, that's my sink. All right, well, while I'm here, I'm waiting on the channel leader for the camera. No cost to you. You mind if I take this apart and kind of clean it up for you? It'll drain a lot better. Now, Alan's going to say, wow. Now, you didn't come for this. You're waiting on your channel leader. You've already got my toilet down. I mean, they're going to come do a camera for me. And sometimes that camera's for free. You have to kind of fill the customer out. But the bottom line is now I'm doing a service for them. It's like changing a light bulb or fixing a cabinet that's loose or whatever. I noticed when I opened your cabinet, this is really loose here. I'm going to go get a screwdriver and tighten that up for you. Right? So I do that. I clean that out. It takes me all of 5 minutes to take that off. I get a pan, put it underneath or a bucket. I have a little brush, clean it out, rinse it, put it back together. It's done. Okay? Show them, hey Alan, check it out. Much better, right? So, and sometimes all you have to do is just take the pop-up assembly out and clean that sucker off, and you'll get night and day hairs from your. My wife has hair in her sink, and I have shaving stuff in mine. But either way, that's a really easy way, something really fast and easy to do for a customer that's not going to take any time, and you build that customer relationship even more, right? They get the wow factor. So now, also the channel leader shows up, and they're going to knock on the door, and say, "Hey Kevin, how are you? I'm Kevin. I'm the channel leader. I have a camera right here with me. I was told by Jesse that I needed a camera in your line. So we go over to the clean out. There's a camera in there. Takes a look at it. Let me see if I find anything. If I do, I'll give you a call. I'll bring you over. Then the channel leader always shows the customer whatever they find. Because a customer, when they're going to see, a lot of times cockroaches in their line, they're going to see crap in their line, they're going to see stuff that's not going down. And how does the channel leader explain at that point why we have toilet paper and crap not all the way down to the sewer? Anybody have an answer for that? Why is it sitting in the middle of my line?
We got a belly.
You just got a belly.
That could be, but a lot of times now it's because we have these toilets that don't flush like they used to flush. The funny thing about plumbing is back when they had the codes originally down 1/4 inch, per foot drop, well, we had toilets that did how many gallons of water?
3 gallons.
2.5 gallons, whatever, of water coming down there
Yeah,
per flush, right?
there's a lot more power behind it.
So you got all that water bringing that stuff down. So nowadays, it takes a while to get the water to go. The crap to be pushed down with the water down the line, because they never changed. They lowered the water amount going down, but they didn't change and make any more of a drop.
Yeah, but see, more of a drop would just leave the solid behind anyway. So actually, we need to take it all the way to like 1/8 to even work.
Mm-hmm.
See, 1/4 inch is going to allow the solids and everything to go with it. So we need actually less fall.
With
to
less
make the
water?
go down. You know what I'm saying?
Not with less water.
Less water.
Yeah.
Less fall.
So
You want it to
Especially
go
back
slower.
cast
'cause-
iron.
especially in cast iron.
So we need less fall. We need to work on 1/8.
So, so bottom line is it's not being flushed down as far as it was. So their lines, all that stuff's sitting there, especially with cast iron lines. And now you have all that stuff just getting hard and making it hard for everything to flush down. So when they have that though with the camera, they can show that to the customer, and that is a jetting job. And especially cast iron, that's a real easy way to get a jetting job. Clean all that stuff out. If not, plus a lot of times when you put a camera in there, at least two out of 4 times on cast iron lines, you're going to find something more. You're gonna find a crack, you're gonna find roots, you're gonna find bellies, you're gonna find something that'll get you out there and get you some more money. Okay? So that's just, we're just talking about a sewer line. We're not even talking about all the other plumbing issues that we could have seen while we're there. But we don't even talk about those until we get the plumbing issue that we're talking about. We kind of maybe drop little hints and seeds, plant seeds, but we don't walk up and say, oh, I saw your pressure regulator looks like it's old and you got a drippy hose bib before we even get into the house. That's the exact opposite of what you want to do, right? So you don't talk about anything else full on. Might drop little hints here and there. Like I noticed your angle stops under the sink when I was looking at your sink there. It looks like it's dripping. I'll talk to you about that later. But then you continue on. So you drop the seed, you continue on. And then once all that's done, well, since I have Kevin here, I noticed a couple other things, Kevin, you can do right in front of the customer. I was looking at the angle stops. They have 27 angle stops. They're all the old ball valve. They look like they've been here since the house was built. They've got the plastic lines that are really kind of looking like they need to be replaced. So maybe we can talk to the customer about that and see if we can work something in on the price for him to kind of help him out. Right? You want to sound like the good guy as the tech. So now Kevin comes in and says, okay, well, let's talk about the sewer line. Here's what we need to do here. Since we're here already, we can change these angle stops out for you. Just, give you a deal on that, save you some money. So you're giving him options, because he's given the first option, which is just fix the issue we have. Here's the second option, fixing the issue we have plus angle stops and supplies. And then the third one is, well, your water heater is also 10 years old, or 15 years old, or whatever. Here's something else we can do. So he packages that whole thing up. Now we have 3 options.
Especially if it's inside the house.
And we can do financing because we're going to be spending all this, right? I mean, so that's the way to set it up. That's the way to set the job up. Get them out there. There's almost always a way to get your channel leader out there. But that's just one from a simple sewer or a toilet that's clogged. You can get them out. Does that make sense? Okay. You can do whatever with that. All right, so anybody have any questions on that? The difference from an HVAC, what's the difference?
Different topic.
The equipment.
The equipment. So now it's, okay, so now it could be a bad,
Well, furnace is a good example. We're still in heating season.
we are. Could be a
So-
cracked heat exchanger.
Pilot flame keeps blowing out, fires up, flame looks good, blower kicks on, starts looking like a campfire in there.
Right.
It's a pretty good sign. That's a pretty good time to offer to pull the blower off, spray it down, look at it.
How do you
So
get your channel leader out?
when you do, well, the way I do it is after that initial inspection, I'm gonna pull the blower off. I'm gonna give this thing a once over for you. It's for your own safety. I gotta make sure that this thing's not cracked. I'm gonna go ahead and look at it. I'm gonna spray it down. You always take a before and after picture inside the heat exchanger, and you stop and you go, I think I found something. I need to confirm what I found. I need to get Kevin out here. I want to make sure that I got this right.
Right.
With your permission, can I give him a call out here? It's free of charge.
Yeah, I mean, he's always in the area. We work in this area. He's almost always in the area. Let me call him, see if he's available. And, let's get John out here.
John,
So-
Kevin, yeah. Either one
So
of
when
them.
you call out your channel leader, that's where the communication starts. You can say, hey, I'm out here at Mr. Jones's house, and I noticed a heat exchanger. I did a test on it, looks like it's cracked. Safety issue here. I'd really like to have your second opinion on this. A second opinion is all you're telling the customer a lot of times is, even if it's with the sewer thing, I mean, he has a sewer camera, so I want to make sure that he verifies that I got this thing cleaned. Is kind of a second opinion, validating and verifying the work that I did for your protection and mine. We warranty our work, and I don't want to have to come back because of a safety issue or because this is going to back up again or whatever the case is. But it's a validation. That's what we're getting out here for: protect you and protect me. And you got to come across that way. All right, so you're right. You get him out there and you let him know what's going on, so he knows he's got to bring whatever he's got to bring. He's not going to bring a camera in this case. Kevin would bring out his little spray.
But you can
Well,
camera them if you got one of those little boroscope cams.
True.
Those really.
But whatever equipment based on the situation, that way they know what to bring, what to have with them, which they should have in their truck anyways, a channel leader. And then they're going to come out and validate what you said. and then we're gonna give them options. Here's to repair this, the unit is this old, so maybe here's a second option, we're gonna replace this. And by the way, I also noticed that it's not up to code, it doesn't have, you know, the drain cleanouts, whatever needs to be done, or the pan is, whatever the issues are. Because you've been up there and observed them. So, and maybe their ducts need to be cleaned. It's HVAC time coming up here, right? Let's get the ducts cleaned, and
Blower.
there's so much that can be done. So now you give
Blower's
them
real common.
A, B, and C. Fix it. Let's add this, and now let's add all of it together. Bundle it up, and we'll give you a discount because we're going to do it all. We can finance again. All of those things should be in every presentation, as many of them as you can. Does that make sense?
And then same thing with like your freebie. When you pull that blower out, 9 times out of 10, let's face it, how many of your homeowners even know they have a filter in their air conditioner?
I bumped into quite a few people that are familiar with
Half of them
that.
don't even know what that thing is, so the blower wheel looks dirty and like crap. It takes you guys about 20 minutes to spray that thing off and wipe it down while you wait.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
they see that pile of dirt that came out of their AC system, and now you just opened it up. Well, while we're here,
Right.
now there's an evaporative coil that can be cleaned. Now
That's the big one after that.
Right.
there's a bunch of things that just lead in after that.
Yeah, and when it comes to the freebie
Yeah,
stuff,
well, you
guys,
gotta take
I mean, it's
everything
got to be
apart.
stuff that's going to take you 5 or 10 minutes. Real easy type of deal. You don't want to be, you know, taking something completely apart that's just going to be a hassle. And there are some times then you're going to get in a situation where, you know, they have if you do take it apart or even touch it, it looks like it's going to break. Then you don't.
Don't touch it.
You don't touch it. And you let the customer know, look, normally I would like to do this for you as a courtesy, but I mean, I would do it only if you understand that I need to replace this parts, and I'll just charge you for the parts. Maybe it is a P-trap, because I've seen traps that are just, yeah, if I touch this, it's never going to seal again, you know? Or someone's glued parts together that shouldn't have been glued together, I can't clean it out, right?
It happens with water heater flushes all the time.
Yeah, so, you know,
Vent line on an AC drain line.
you don't want to touch something that's gonna cause us an issue or be an issue for the customer without them knowing about it, authorizing us to at least, you know, change the parts out if you have them on your truck, type of thing. Make sense? All right, Kevin.
Yeah, just on that note, what you just said, anytime you get a water heater and you've got the old plastic valve at the bottom and that thing potentially could crack
Or never close back up.
or never close back up, I would say go ahead and do it anyway. And just, you know, even if the customer, let them know that, hey, that's a possibility. But if you got price resistance, I would just do it anyway and throw a hose bib and a nipple. You know, hey, now you can flush it, you know, it is 15 years old, but geez, you know, these things snap, whatever, I'll just go ahead and throw that in for you today, you know, whatever the case is, but it's always best to do that service, because then you just stick your flag on that water heater, you stick your sticker on there, that customer's not gonna call anybody else at that point. For what, $10 a parts?
Right.
You know, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, it's a good service. Something I wanted to bring up today, I was on a call, sold a air handler and for hydronics, and it was a ceiling unit, and the reason I got the call was the thermostat was wired, not programmed properly, so it was programmed as gas. So when you turned it on, the pump came on, but the fan didn't. So I went into the thermostat, it was a Nest, and I situated it, and boom, unit comes on, right? Problem solved, right? I took the extra step and I pulled the panel down, and I looked up there, we got PVC going uphill, we got a pan full of water, and we have an active leak in this guy's house, like active leak. And he's selling his house, and he's on the phone right then and there already. Before I even got there, he was already on the phone to American Home Shield because he wanted them to take care of the repair. He didn't even know what the repair was going to be yet. So anyway, long story short, wound up turning into a replacement system. I had to hang out there for about an hour and a half just because of all the back and forth on the phone. But here's the interesting thing about that. I got them to pay. They have a $2,000 limit that they'll pay out. So they paid that. But here's the interesting thing about that. Any code upgrade, they will pay for. Okay? Had I known that I would kind of padded those a little bit more, and I went the opposite direction, and I kind of minimized them because I thought they weren't paying for them. So, and just the opposite happened, but it was very interesting. They paid for the permit, okay? They right?
Home shield.
Very important because now they're paying for the HERS rater.
Right.
Any code upgrades, they're going to pay for.
Mm.
Okay, so we interface with insurance companies all the time, and they're no different than, you know, the American Home Shield policies are really no different than your homeowner's policies. So you're going to run into the same thing where, as an example, the furnace we replaced yesterday.
Yep.
Okay, any code upgrades would have been covered by the insurance. Okay, that's pretty powerful when you think about it. So knowledge is king out there when you know these things and you can present them with authority to the insurance company or to Jessica at ServPro or to your customer with American Home Shield. So, you know, the job, we wound up getting close to $6,000 on this job to replace the air handler. He's selling the house. He's literally, he wants to list it now, you know. And he was hoping to get out of there with a couple $100, and he was choking that he had to come out of pocket with $3,000. And I encouraged him. I said, dude, I'm shocked that they even rolled over, because I thought that you were going to get maybe $1,000 credit toward purchase. So anyway, but the point is, now that I know that, now that you know that, we can use that as leverage, because there's always significant code upgrades anytime we have to take something out and put it back, even if it's an old furnace, that we're not putting back something new. Okay? Yeah.
Say the water heater leaked, you had to pull the furnace, right? So you had to upgrade the furnace because the furnace got ruined, right? Redo the plumbing, all that everything.
It just depends. You know,
Furnaces
yeah.
don't always get
But,
blown when the water heater.
but any of those, the lining of the return,
Yep.
so we have to go in and line the return. That's a code upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can't just leave it the way it was, right? And then I got to put a safety switch on the condensate drain. I have to put a clean out on the condensate drain. I got to pipe that in rigid now because I can't use the flex.
Yep.
You know, it just keeps going. So as long as you understand what the new codes are, water heater, doesn't matter. If the water heater didn't have a drain pan, and you know, you gotta, there's certain things they gotta pay for. And these insurance companies aren't gonna volunteer this information, okay? That's not how it works, okay? You have to be equipped and you have to know that information to have that leverage against them. Yeah, it was an interesting call, and I can tell you this, had I not hung in there with this guy, there would have been no sale, ever, you know? And, but I just made up my mind on this call. I was gonna camp out with this customer, even if it was 2 or 3 hours, we were gonna be on the phone. Because guess what? If I spend 2 or 3 hours with the customer, what's gonna happen when they say, no, we're not paying anything? He's gonna feel awfully obligated to do business with me, right? Because I provided such badass service. So don't be thinking, I know this is a tendency and it's hard to train yourself not to do this, but don't be thinking, I might be here for 4 hours and get paid nothing. Get that thought out of your head, okay? Because that will happen, I promise you. You will go out to jobs and you will not get paid, okay? And you'll just get your minimum, whatever that hourly is, right? But the odds are that the more time you spend with the customer and the more value you bring to the show, man, they're just gonna do business with you each and every time. That guy really, I mean, at the end of it, the service that I provided, you know, I mean, everything I did for this guy, there was no way he was saying no. I knew that. There's no way. So, anyway, that's all I wanted to go over with that one.
All right, cool. All right, guys, let's go get to work, make some money. Oh, excuse me.
Did you go by Mary